Why can one country punish a person for a crime committed thousands of miles away? Why can another claim rights over a person's tweets, even if they were never on his soil? And why, in today's deeply interconnected world, are powerful nations expanding their legal reach far beyond their borders, sparking outrage, confusion, and fear? Welcome to the strange, invisible battlefield of international law's most contentious principle, jurisdiction. In this video, we're diving deep into the concept of state jurisdiction, what it is, how it has evolved, and why it's rapidly becoming one of the most powerful weapons in modern geopolitics. From the halls of The Hague to the US Supreme Court, and from Russia's legal maneuvers to China's latest cyber laws, we'll trace the tangled legal map that defines who can do what, to whom, and where. So stay with us, hit that like button if you're into deep dives on real-world power dynamics, and let's uncover the legal skeleton behind global authority. Let's rewind first. Jurisdiction, in its simplest form, is a state's legal right to govern conduct. Traditionally, this was a territorial idea. Nations controlled what happened inside their borders. If you stole a car in France, you'd be tried in France. Easy, clean, logical. But the 20th century cracked that wide open. Post-World War II, the horrors of cross-border atrocities like the Holocaust forced the global legal system to reconsider rigid boundaries. The Nuremberg trials, a precedent-setting moment, established that individuals could be held accountable for crimes against humanity, even if committed under national laws. The seeds of extraterritorial jurisdiction were sown. And in today's age of cybercrime, drone warfare, and transnational finance, those seeds have grown into thorny global forests. Let's talk about the 5 main bases of jurisdiction recognized in international law. These aren't just textbook categories, they're battlegrounds for influence. Territorial jurisdiction, the classic. States control actions inside their borders, but even this isn't so simple now. Take, for example, the ongoing legal wrangle over airspace rights in Eastern Europe, where Russia's actions over Ukrainian territory continue to challenge air traffic governance. And in April 2025, a new Ukrainian law backed by EU allies reasserted its right to regulate flights over Crimea, prompting threats from Moscow. Nationality jurisdiction. If you're a citizen of a country, that country might claim jurisdiction over you anywhere in the world. Just last week, the U.S. Department of Justice indicted a U.S. citizen residing in Dubai for aiding a cyber espionage group. The DOJ argued that American citizens are still bound by U.S. law, even abroad, especially if their acts threaten national security. Protective jurisdiction. This one's controversial. It lets a country prosecute acts committed abroad by non-citizens if those acts threaten its security. The Espionage Act in the U.S., often used to charge foreign nationals, fits this bill. Recently, this was applied when a Chinese researcher was charged in Boston for allegedly passing sensitive AI chip designs to a Beijing-based lab, despite the activity occurring entirely outside the U.S. Passive personality jurisdiction. Now we're deep into the gray. This allows prosecution if the victim of a crime is a national of the prosecuting country. For example, if a U.S. tourist is murdered in Brazil, the U.S. might claim the right to try the suspect. While rarely invoked, this basis has gained traction in terrorism cases. As of April 2025, France is expanding such laws to apply to digital abuse, claiming jurisdiction over online harassment of French nationals, regardless of where the poster is located. Universal jurisdiction, the most ambitious and contested. This is where any state can claim jurisdiction over certain crimes, like genocide or piracy, regardless of where they occurred or who was involved. It's the legal foundation behind efforts to prosecute Syrian war crimes in Germany, and recently it was invoked again. In a landmark decision on April 26th, the Dutch courts allowed proceedings against former commanders from Myanmar for crimes against the Rohingya under universal jurisdiction. But here's the twist. While these legal tools are supposed to promote justice, they've increasingly become instruments of geopolitics. Think about it. When the US unseals indictments against Chinese executives for economic espionage, it's not just about law. It's about deterrence, signaling, and soft power. When Russia issues arrest warrants for Western officials over support to Ukraine, it's using international law to flip the narrative, framing itself as a victim rather than an aggressor. And there's a troubling trend: the weaponization of extradition. Just look at the ongoing Julian Assange case. The US has spent years pursuing his extradition from the UK over espionage charges, sparking global debates on press freedom and sovereignty. Meanwhile, Russia is leveraging Interpol red notices to go after dissidents abroad, sometimes for merely criticizing the Kremlin. The boundary between justice and strategy, it's blurring. By the way, if you're enjoying this breakdown, give it a quick like to help us reach more viewers like you. It really does help. Now let's zoom out. This jurisdictional chessboard isn't just being played by the big powers. Smaller nations are increasingly flexing legal muscle too. Take Belgium, a relatively small country with one of the most assertive universal jurisdiction laws in Europe. In April, it launched a preliminary investigation into war crimes committed during the Israel-Gaza escalation of 2023 to 2024. While Tel Aviv has rejected the legitimacy of the probe, it puts pressure on international allies and signals Belgium's commitment to global justice norms. Or South Africa, where courts recently blocked a Saudi arms shipment due to fears the weapons would be used in Yemen, claiming moral jurisdiction over regional peace, even if the events happen thousands of miles away. It's not just states asserting power. International courts like the International Criminal Court, ICC, are also central players. The US never ratified the Rome Statute. The ICC is pressing forward with investigations into Gaza and Ukraine. On April 22nd, ICC prosecutor Karim Khan announced new charges related to forced deportations in occupied Ukraine. An explosive legal move with political implications. Yet the very concept of global jurisdiction is under attack. China, for example, has passed sweeping counter-sanctions laws that criminalize compliance with foreign sanctions inside Chinese territory. In effect, if a multinational firm follows US sanctions against a Chinese company, it might face legal consequences in China. This places global corporations in an impossible position. Damned if they do, damned if they don't. Meanwhile, Russia has revised its foreign agent laws to allow prosecution of NGOs and individuals with even indirect links to undesirable foreign entities, regardless of where they operate. A US-based think tank that funds a human rights report in Georgia? That could now trigger legal backlash in Moscow. This sprawling, tangled web of jurisdictional claims is no longer about law. It's about power, influence, messaging, and sometimes outright coercion. And the digital realm is the new frontier. In April 2025, the European Union's Digital Services Act, DSA, came into full enforcement. It holds platforms accountable for illegal content, disinformation, and hate speech, even if that content originates outside the EU. US tech giants are now under increasing legal pressure to comply with European norms, raising concerns over jurisdictional overreach. And let's not forget the cybercrime dimension. Countries are racing to define digital borders, where cloud data is stored, who owns the rights to encrypted communications, and who is responsible when a cyber attack jumps across 3 continents. The Budapest Convention on Cybercrime remains the global standard, but many, including Russia and China, refuse to join, opting instead for their own regional treaties. So where does all this leave us? In a legal system built on borders, we now live in a world where those borders are more porous yet more contested than ever. Jurisdiction has become both a shield and a sword. It protects sovereignty and threatens it. It upholds justice and sometimes undermines it. And as we march deeper into an era defined by global crises, from climate migration to AI ethics, one question becomes more urgent than ever. Who really gets to decide? If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to hit like, drop a comment with your thoughts on jurisdiction and sovereignty, and subscribe for more deep dives into the invisible forces shaping global politics.